Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to all of you. And we are again back for this session on trust building. Now, we have been talking about so many things, as in we have talked about how important it is to build trust in the relationship. What are the ways by which you can build trust in the relationship? Right? We have been discussing about so many things. But in last session, we have discussed something really very important related to trust building. And what was that? That was keeping promises. What do you think? Is keeping promises, breaking promises plays a very important role in building the relationship, in maintaining the relationship, as well as in building trust in the relationship. What do you think? Yes. Keeping promises, being on your commitment is something which makes your relationship, your bond, a very strong bond. At times, we may feel that why breaking a small promise, how it can affect the relationship. But believe me, though the promise might look a very small thing for you, but maybe for the other person, it is something which is a very big deal. And the other person, once the trust is broken, once the promise is broken, may affect your relationship badly. And that is why we say that trust building is something which is very, very important in the relationship. And along with this, trust is very closely related to promises. There's a very common proverb which we all have heard. Like from childhood, we might be hearing that proverb. It says that promises are meant to be broken. How many of you genuinely feel that promises are truly and are really made to be broken? And how many of you feel that once the promises are broken, those promises are never going to affect your relationship? How many of you believe that thing? Because for me, what I have seen and what I have believed is promises are something which once broken, it is very difficult to get the trust of the person again. Because promises plays a very, it's not just the promise. Let's say if we talk about the corporate, it is not only about the promise which we made but which we make, but it is also about the commitment. See, commitment is also something where you are somewhere promising the other person that yes, I am going to fulfill this thing. And in case if you are unable to fulfill that thing, and see, fulfilling that thing, unable to fulfill that thing is okay. But if you do not inform that person, if you do not have a genuine reason, and the all of sudden the other person get to know that thing himself, that you were unable to fulfill your commitment, you were unable to fulfill your promise, that creates misunderstanding, that creates communication gap, and that gives space for the trust to break, to fade away from your relationship. And that is where we say that trust is something which is really very, very important in each and every relation, whether you are into the organization, whether you have been asked to show trust in the organization, whether you are talking about any kind of your own personal relationship, whatever it is, trust need to be there. Until and unless you do not have trust, conflicts, arguments, disagreement, you're giving space to all of these things, not just to one single thing. All the things will get affected if your relation doesn't show trust. In today's session, we will be talking about how to keep the promises. Because we were in the last session, if you remember, then we have discussed about what is a promise. Promise is something which requires your efforts, which requires your commitment, which aren't just something which you do for the sake of others, but it is something which you are doing willingly for building a strong relationship. To keep the promises, we never say that you have to go beyond the way. You have to promise something which you think is not within your boundaries, which you think is difficult for you to fulfill. Do not keep those promises. We do say that promises build trust, but when you are making the promise, always make sure that the promises which you are making are not beyond your own capabilities. Let's say you have promised your friend that, okay, you are in the need and I'm going to help you financially. I'm going to provide you, let's say, a sum of 1 lakh rupee. And you know that you yourself are going through a very difficult phase, very difficult situation. And you know that it won't be possible for you to gather that 1 lakh amount and give it to your friend. Never do that promise. You can promise that, okay, we will try. I'll be there with you to try from where we can collect that amount, but I cannot promise that I am going to give you that amount from my hand. So, for keeping the promises, for making the promises, or for doing the promises, you need not to go beyond your own capabilities, beyond your own strength, that what you can do and what you cannot. Okay. So now, what are the ways by which you can keep the promises? You already know what is a promise, but there are different ways which you can use to keep your promises. The first way is be organized. Yes, it is very important that if you're not organized, if you are a person that who anytime do anything randomly, picks up anything, do anything, and just forget about that. So that kind of person, for them, it is very difficult to keep the promises. So, if we talk about organize, if we talk about promises, it is very important that you be organized, you stay organized. Second point says stay motivated. Motivation is something which is always going to help you to move closer to other person, and along with that it will also help you to keep the commitment, to keep the promises, to keep the words which you have committed to other person. Don't overcommit and underdeliver. See, this is what, if you are going to relate the example which I have told you right now, that is exactly same thing. Do not overcome it and underdeliver. If you think your capability is not that, you won't be able to do that thing. Do not overcome it. Relations doesn't mean that for building trust in the relation, you have to do something beyond your capabilities, beyond your capacity. It is not that. It just means that whatever you are committing, at least you are doing that. Whatever you are saying, whatever you are committing, you are fulfilling that thing. So that is what is known as do not overcommit and under deliver. If you're committing more than what you can deliver, it is ultimately going to affect the relationship. But if you only commit what you can deliver, that is never going to affect your relationship. And last point is keep track. Keep track of how many promises you have made, how many you have fulfilled, so that you can know that what are the promises where you are unable to be on your commitment, where you are unable to fulfill them, and which require more efforts, or they are the one which are beyond your capabilities, beyond your capacity. So do not make those promises again in your life. That is why we say always keep a track of whatever promises you have made and whatever promises you have delivered. So these are basically the four ways by which you can deliver, you can keep your promises, whatever you have committed. So now with this, we are going to start the new thing, that is what are the ways to actually deliver on your promises. So when I'm saying delivering on your promises, it is very important to be aware about some of the ways which will help you to deliver your promises more effectively and more efficiently. So that we are going to discuss in the next slide. So the first way here says, don't overpromise. Don't overpromise. That means we just discussed about this point when we were talking about the ways how to keep your promises, that do not overcommit. Same way when we are talking about do not overcommit and underdeliver, this point exactly means the same thing, that do not overpromise. Don't promise about something which you cannot deliver. Be on your words, but but make sure that whatever words you are saying, you will be in a state, you will be able to fulfill that thing. Only promise those things which are achievable by you, which you can deliver, which is not going to make you exhausted. Okay, we are committing something, we just want to deliver that thing, but that should not mean that because of that you are overexhausted, you are struggling a lot with yourself just to keep your promises. So make sure you only keep those promises which you can deliver effectively and efficiently. So the bigger the promise, the less likely you are to live up to it. The more bigger the promise you make, it is going to require lot of dedication, lot of efforts from your end. So the bigger the promise, the less likely you are to live up to it. Don't just say what the person wants to hear. Tell them what you think you can reasonably offer. This is one of the biggest mistake which most of the people do in the relation. Just because they value the relation a lot, just because the relations are very close to their heart, they think that if I'm not going to do what the person is asking me to do, if I do not promise of delivering that thing, it might or it may affect my relationship. But in that race, they forget that relations doesn't mean that whatever the other person is saying, you have to agree on it. Do not just say what the other person wants. Do not just promise on the things what the other person wants. Rather, tell them what do you think you can reasonably offer. Tell them, okay, these are the things which I can do for you. These are the things which I can offer to you. And that is what is going to make or going to create a difference in your life. Many people who are unable to deliver the promise, many people who are unable to fulfill their commitment, most of the time you will see that they are the person who was trying to do something, who was trying to deliver something what the other person wanted to wanted them to do, rather than focusing on, rather than doing the things which they can reasonably offer. And that is the reason why at times people do overpromise and they are unable to commit. Let's say, for example, if someone asks if you can come to their graduation party, and you know that you have some other party on the same day, don't say yes just because the other person is your close friend and he or she might feel bad. Say that you might not be able to come to it and stick to your decision. You can even clearly say that, okay, for me, the chances are very less because I have some prior commitments, but still, I will try my best to be there at the party. Just to make that person good for a moment, for a second, for a minute. Do not say that, yes, I'm going to be there, when within your heart you know that it is not going to be possible for you because you already have some prior commitments which you cannot leave. Do not attempt to do that thing. Be honest with the people around you. That is again one of the way of trusting, building the trust. Promise is not just the only way of building trust in the relationship. Even if you are being very honest with the other person, you are not doing what the person wants you to do, but you are being honest. That is again one of the way by which you can deliver, you can build the trust in your relationship. The second way is deliver well. So now in the first way, we have learned that do not overpromise. Whatever you can deliver, whatever reasonable you can offer, just stick to that, just be on that, and just commit and promise for that thing only. Do not promise, do not accept something which just the other person wants you to do, and you won't be able to do that. So when you give it your best. When I'm talking about deliver well, give your best to it. Do your best. When your boss asks you to do a special task, complete the task to the best of your ability. When you think your boss has asked you to do a special task, when you think your boss has asked you to perform on some task, complete the task to the best of your ability. Do not just just start thinking, am I capable of doing that? No, start doing that and give your best. I'm not saying that by giving your best you will be able to meet up the expectation of your boss, but at least by delivering, by doing the by performing with the best of your ability, you will at least say that yes, you have done your best, you have given your best. Don't underdo it. Let's say you are capable, your boss knows that you are capable of finishing of the task in by end of the day today, and you just start procrastinating about the things, or you just getting yourself involved into some unnecessary things, unnecessary work, and due to which your performance is not up to the mark, you end up delivering less, which doesn't proves your capabilities, which clearly shows that yes, you have underdone it. You were capable of doing the best, you were capable of performing the best, but just because you didn't pay attention, you didn't give your best, your performance went under, went below your ability. Don't underdo it. Meet up the expectation. give, whenever you take any work in your hand, make sure that you are fulfilling the expectation of other person. It's not just about the expectation, but maybe they expect you to deliver 100% and you are able to deliver only 80%, but that is the best of your ability. You have done the best of your ability. So don't underdo it. If the task involves several requirements, don't just do some of them, do them all. If you have got a task and there are multiple requirements for that task, do not do a part of it and then leave. No, you have to pay proper attention to all of them. You have to give attention to each and every task which you are doing. So that is deliver well. Third point says remember. Many of the people have this problem that they do make the promises, but they forget. They want to. It's not intentional, but it just skips out of their mind that we committed something, we promised something, and now we have to fulfill that commitment. We have to do that commitment. No. It just skips out. It just slipped out of their mind, and just because of that, not intentionally, maybe unintentionally, they end up delivering zero results, doing under delivery. So, when it is the last time you forgot a promise that you made, just recall when was the last time when you forgot the promise. And if you find a very bad track record of yours, that if I'm going to recall, then most of the time I was unable to deliver my promises. I simply used to forget. I used to commit and I used to make the promise, but at the end, I used to forget that I have made any kind of commitment. I have made any kind of promises. What do you think? What you need to do in this situation when you think that it was unintentional? It was just because of your short term memory loss that you were unable to fulfill the commitment. What you should do? What are the ways by which you can fulfill the commitment? You can remember the commitment and you do not forget, or you do not skip, you do not miss on fulfilling those commitments. What's that step which you can take? It is write it down the next time, even if it is something very small. If you think that you have been you are having a very bad track record of forgetting the things, you are having a very bad track record of making the promises but unable to deliver those promises, unable to keep those promises just because you were unable to remember them. You wanted to do that, but you couldn't remember them over here, that what I am supposed to do, what I have to do. So for this, the one of the best option is write it down. Write down the next time your promises, even if the promise look very small to you. But as you have the habit of forgetting the promises, make it your habit that no matter what happens, I am going to keep my promises. I am going to fulfill my promises. That is what you have to do from next time, so that you do not end up by delivering less for the promises just because of your habit of forgetting the things. Yes. Because why I'm telling you to write even this small promise, because every small promise do count. It may look like, oh, this is such a small promise. The promise was just, I'm going to meet my friend this Saturday and I'm going to take him out for a lunch. This is such a small promise. What effect it is going to make? But no, it is going to carry a very, maybe very negative impact in the mind of your friend, because you have promised something and you were unable to fulfill your promise. So make sure, no matter the promise may look very small to you, but you are going to write it down, because each and every promise which you make, each and every promise which you do counts. If you think that there are a lot of promises which you have written and your schedule is filling up, just try to prioritize so that the most important things are done first. Prioritize that, okay, I need to fulfill this promise first, I need to fulfill this that promise first, because it is going to help you out to find out that which promise is of the highest priority, and on which promise you need to pay more attention. So just start prioritizing as soon as you know that no, you are overburdened, you are having lot of promises to be fulfilled, but you do not know from which promise you need to start first, because many times there are some promises which cannot be postponed for later hours. There's something which need to be done immediately, and those you need to find out. So this is the third way by which you can keep your promises. The fourth way is be cautious. If you have come to a situation where someone is asking you to do something, or when someone, maybe the other person is not asking you verbally to do something, but he expects you to do something, in that situation, think before you speak. Give it a thought that, okay, this is what the other person wants me to do, this is what the other person is expecting me to do, so what should I do? Just give it a thought, because giving it a thought will give you the clarity that whether you are in a state to fulfill their expectation, or to fulfill whatever the other person is asking you to do. You might promise someone too much, but if you are unable to deliver that too much, that entire promise is a vain. It would have been better if you wouldn't have promised anything. Why I'm telling you to to give it a thought, so that you can know that whether you will be able to fulfill those promises or not. Because maybe if person is saying so many things, and out of curiosity or out of excitement, you might say, wow, the person is having so much trust on me, let me say that, okay, I'm going to fulfill all the commitment, I'm going to do that thing. Do you think it is going to solve out your problem? No, it is not going to solve out your problem. So, whenever a person is saying something, take your time, take enough time, think about it, and then speak that whether you are in a state of fulfilling that promise or not. Do not respond quickly and frequently, because it will land you only into trouble, not the other person. Because for other person, you have told, okay, I'm going to do that, and ultimately if you end up giving no result, that is obviously affecting that is obviously going to affect your relationship. So, taking your time, you are more likely to promise exactly what you can keep. This we all agree that if we are taking time for something, let's say you all of a sudden got a job opportunity and you're just taking time to decide whether that job is suitable for you. So, okay, you will be in a stage to decide better that whether that job is really good for you or not, right? So it will give you more clarity about that. Same way, if you are taking time to decide whether you will be able to meet up to their expectation, whether you will be able to deliver what they are saying, and you're taking time to think, it will help you to decide better. So take your time, be very cautious when you are giving your promise, when you are committing to do something. Fifth point says be communicative. Communicate. Many people are unable. You know why? I don't know why. What happened? What stops them? That they really want to communicate whatever is running in their mind, but maybe they do not get words, or they think that no, I cannot communicate. I don't want to hurt other person, and they just stop. And ultimately, it doesn't affect other person, but it affects the relation which you were having. The fear of losing that relation forced you to accept the promise, to do the promise, but ultimately the undeliverability of that promise ultimately affected your relationship. So do not land yourself into that situation. Be communicative. When you make a promise, be as concise as possible. Be very concise with what you're going to do, how you're going to do, how much you are going to offer, how much you are going to deliver. That is very important. Here, when I'm using the term concise, it means give the entire information. Give the full information that okay, this is what I'm going to do, this is the part how what I'm going to achieve. Be as concise as possible. How much information, whatever information you think you can share, whatever information you think, even a small piece of information, if it comes in your mind, just say that, communicate that to the other person, that okay, this is what I'm going to do, and these may look very small to you, but these I may not be able to deliver. I do not promise, I do not commit to deliver that thing. So be as concise as possible. If the description of your promise is vague, then the other person may assume more of you. It is as simple as that you take the entire assignment and you were knowing that you won't be able to present that thing. You are very good in preparing the content, you're very good in preparing the presentation, but at the end, you won't be able to speak up. You won't be able to deliver that part. Just think, if you are not making that thing clear, so it's creating a false assumption in the mind of the person that okay, he didn't say anything, that means he is going to deliver the entire content. Don't you think it is going to affect? Because ultimately you are giving you a lot of effort, but just because you were not expressive, you didn't communicate it clearly, that what part you won't be able to take up, what part you won't be able to deliver. The other person simply assumed and took it as a promise from your end, and it created lots of last moment confusion. Don't do that. Say clearly exactly whatever is running in your mind, whatever is going in your mind, and what exactly you can do and what exactly you can deliver. Be very clear, be very specific with while sharing each and everything about the promise, that how much you can actually deliver to them. Many people struggle at this at this point, and they land themselves into a lot of trouble. If any point of time, if you find that no, I cannot deliver on time, or uh, you thought that you would be able to, but now when you started working on that, you have realized that no, I won't be able to deliver that on time. As soon as you realize that thing, that I won't be able to deliver on time, communicate that thing at the same point of time, that no, it won't be possible for me to deliver this within this specific time. It will allow the other person to be prepared, that okay, if they have any further commitment, they'll look after for the options, or further they'll communicate the same thing, that we require some more time. Do not wait for the last moment, that okay, I'm trying, I'm going to try, though it won't be possible for you, but still you keep on saying that no, no, I'm going to try, and last moment you say that I thought I won't be able to do, but I still tried, but again there are no results. Do you think the last moment communication is going to help you out in any way? And the last point in Be Communicative says, by keeping in contact, you are showing the other person that you are making an effort to keep the promise. So when you are regularly updating the other person about the task you are doing, about the task you are performing, so somewhere you are, creating a good contact. By creating that good contact, you are building that trust in the mind of other person, that okay, you are genuinely trying, you are genuinely making all possible efforts to keep your promises, because this is what you are showing in your words, that okay, this is what I have completed, this is what I have done. So when you are continuously showing that part, it is ultimately going to affect and create a positive impact in the mind of other person, because they know okay, this person has tried his best to deliver, but was unable to deliver. He'll be just checking your efforts, he'll be going through your efforts, that okay, these are the efforts which the person has put up, because you are communicating regularly, you are updating that person regularly on from time to time, by giving them the update about the progress, by telling them what is possible, what is not possible. So ultimately this will help you to create a positive impact on the mind of other person. And ultimately at the end, let's say by any chance you were unable to deliver the promise, still the person will know that no, the undeliverability of the promise is not intentional. All the efforts, all the possible efforts were made, but still it couldn't get delivered. So the other person is not going to take it other way, that you intentionally didn't want it to fulfill your commitment. So with this, we have come to the end of today's session. There are 5 more ways which we are going to discuss in the next session of trust building. But till here, if you have any doubt, please let me know. You have any doubt that what are the ways by which you can keep your promise, or what are the ways which will help you to be on your promise? No? Okay, so we are done with today's session. We'll start the next session in next 10 minutes. In case if you have any doubt, you can get back to me in the next session of trust building also. Yes? Okay. So with this, we are going to wind up today's session. Bye bye. Have a good day.